How does one guy, born Edson Arantes do Nascimento, become known to the entire world by a single name, Pelé? And not just known, but hailed as O Rei, the king. In this explainer, we're going to break down how a boy from Brazil became a true global icon, and for so many, the greatest to ever play the game. And his incredible story really starts with one simple number.
It all boils down to a number that just sets him apart from everyone else. 3. That's how many FIFA World Cups Pelé won. 1958, 1962, and 1970. To this day, he is the only male player in history to have done that. It puts him in a category all by himself.
But, it was never just about the trophies. It was the way he played. It inspired this incredible awe, even among other legends of the game. I mean, when someone like Johan Cruyff says you surpass the boundaries of logic, that tells you everything you need to know. The man was pure magic on the field. So how did he even get there?
To really understand the legend, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. Because before he was the king, he was just a kid from Brazil with a massive dream.
He grew up poor, really poor, in a town called Bauru. His family didn't have much, so to help make ends meet, a young Pelé actually worked in tea shops. It was a really humble start, a million miles away from the global fame he'd one day find.
And being that poor meant that the most basic thing for a kid who loves football, a ball, was completely out of reach. He couldn't just go buy a proper leather football. But that wasn't going to stop him. No way.
So what do? You get creative. He played with whatever he could get his hands on. Sometimes it was a sock stuffed with newspaper tied up with a string. Other times, it was literally a grapefruit. And it was right there, on those streets, with those makeshift balls, that he developed the unbelievable control and skill that would later just stun the entire world.
His talent was just undeniable. So obvious that by the time he was only 15 years old, he was signing a professional contract. His youth coach took him to try out for the club Santos and literally told the directors, "This skinny kid right here, he's going to be the greatest football player in the world." Turns out, that might have been the understatement of the century.
And what's just wild is how fast it all happened. Seriously, look at this. At 15, he signs for one of Brazil's biggest clubs. By 16, he's the top scorer in the entire league and gets called up to play for Brazil. And then, at just 17 years old, he goes to the World Cup in Sweden and wins the whole thing. He became the youngest champion ever. It's a rise to the top unlike anything we've ever seen. So, winning the World Cup at 17? That wasn't the peak. Oh no, that was just the launch pad. What came next was an era of just total dominance. For more than a decade, Pelé reigned supreme. Think about this. After his heroics in the 58 and 62 World Cups, all the biggest clubs in Europe, we're talking Real Madrid, Juventus, Manchester United, they all wanted him. The interest was so intense that the Brazilian government did something pretty much unheard of. In 1961, they declared Pelé an official national treasure, which legally prevented him from being sold to a foreign club. He wasn't just a player, he was a symbol of Brazil itself. And what a symbol he was. Let's talk about goals for a second. Over his career, Pelé scored a lot of goals, an unbelievable number. The Guinness World Record puts his official tally at 1,279 goals in 1,363 games. Just try to wrap your head around that. That kind of consistency is just mind-blowing. His opponents definitely felt that genius up close. After Santos beat the European champions Benfica in 1962, with Pelé scoring a hat-trick in their home stadium, their goalkeeper said this. It just captures that almost supernatural aura Pelé had. He didn't just beat you, he made you question if he was even from this planet. The peak, the real crescendo of his reign, had to be the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. This picture says it all. That Brazil team is widely considered the greatest football team of all time. You had all these legends playing together, and Pelé was their leader, the heart and soul of what they called the beautiful game. Tarcisio Burnich, the Italian defender who had the impossible job of marking Pelé in that final, he put it perfectly. After Pelé scored this incredible opening goal, leaping over him, Burnett said, "I told myself he's made of skin and bones just like everyone else, but I was wrong." You see a pattern here? Even the world-class defenders on the field with him felt like he was operating on a completely different level.
But Pelé's influence wasn't just confined to Brazil, not by a long shot. He became football's very first global superstar, and he made the sport popular in places where it had barely registered before.
Okay, so after he's conquered Brazil and the world stage, he does something nobody saw coming. In 1975, he signs for the New York Cosmos.
Now back then, soccer was a really minor sport in the US, but Pelé's arrival, it changed everything. He is single-handedly credited with sparking a huge surge of interest in the game all across North America.
He wasn't just a star attraction, he brought legitimacy to the league. His move literally opened the door for a whole wave of other international legends to come play in America. Guys like Franz Beckenbauer, Johan Cruyff, George Best, they all followed in his footsteps. Pelé was the ultimate trailblazer.
But if you want to understand his true global power, there is one story that tops them all. In 1969, his club Santos was touring Africa. They were scheduled to play a friendly match in Nigeria, which at the time was in the middle of a brutal civil war. And according to reports, the two warring sides agreed to a 48-hour ceasefire, just so they could watch Pelé play. Think about that. His talent, his fame, was enough to stop a war, even just for a moment. That's not just a sports star, that's something else entirely.
So how do you even begin to sum up a legacy like that? It goes so far beyond the goals and the trophies. He completely changed what it meant to be a sports star.
Let's hear from one of his greatest rivals, Bobby Moore. He captained the England team that won the World Cup in '66. He called Pelé the most complete player he'd ever seen. He had it all: 2 great feet, speed, power, incredible in the air, a genius passer. He could literally do anything and everything. And this wasn't just hype. This was the honest opinion from the guys who had to try and stop him.
You know, Pelé himself understood this split, this difference between Edson the man and Pelé the icon. He once said that Pelé will never die, that Pelé will go on forever, but Edson is just a normal person who will one day pass away. It's such a powerful reflection on how his identity became this immortal legend, something even bigger than himself.
Which really leaves us with this final thought. What defines a legend? Is it the records that nobody else can touch? Is it the total respect of your greatest rivals? Or is it the power to bring joy to millions and maybe even pause a conflict? In Pelé's case, it was all of it. His story shows us that maybe a true legend isn't just about what you achieve, but how you can completely change the world around you.